Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Keep Keshe Foundation free for humanity. Become a trial volunteer. And Mr. Keshe is making every effort to keep Keshe Foundation free and independent, and out of control of the multinational corporations. Therefore, we need more knowledge seekers with certain health conditions to come forward and be part of the trials and test. It's different than volunteering for big corporations with huge budgets. For one thing, they pay you to put experimental drugs inside your body because you are taking a risk. With plasma science, it is totally opposite. You are working with plasma fields that cannot damage you, and usually your condition changes or goes away. But you have to pay for it because it's an act of love to help bring the change to humanity. Please, if you can consider volunteering for these trials, not only do you benefit, but you bring benefit to others.
This is the tooth of a child, and you can see it literally to the flesh. And this is very few weeks later. Where the tooth is literally recovering and growing. And when you see the changes are so fundamental. And this is what our doctors and dentists are achieving. This is a life of misery, pain, tooth extraction. And this is today, a few weeks later. And you walk away for all the problems. How far this will grow? Will it become a complete tooth in the next 6 months, 12 months? And would we see the changes? Because if you're a dentist and if you're an ordinary man, you can understand the difference between the two. No chemicals, no medicine, nothing was used. The target of our dentists and doctors is to grow tooth where it has gone. It's been pulled out if it's possible. It's been the dream of the dentists. And using the new technology by them, I'm sure they will try. As you can see, the difference between the two is very clear. We see new bones, new structures, new covers appear. It's the same for us with the what we call the world of salinity. Can we create the condition? Would you like to change the screen, please, Greg? Can we come to the point that with application of the remote, we can deliver directly, for example, to build a piece of wall of a heart of a baby the way we did with a tooth from thousands of kilometers away without open heart surgery? Can we rebuild part of a kidney which has been damaged in your dialysis machine? Can our doctors, with a new technology, remove kidney stone without any intervention? Do they need to change the salinity within a kidney for the stone to melt within a few sessions? And now you understand why we tell you, volunteer. Do you want me to go to multinationals and tie your hand with research? Or do you want to do it yourself and help the others and our doctors to understand? We are not in medical practices. We are in elevation of the soul, how the soul decides to change the what we call dimension within dimension of physicality. And secondly, all these trials is done by the doctors. We are providers of the knowledge. So, if you want to see if it works, if it can bring a new understanding for us, volunteer. And opposite to the other researchers or doctors and institutions where they go out and look for billions to pay scientists to find out, Keshe Foundation asks you to pay for, as volunteer, for us to learn, for scientists to bring the new dimension.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 93rd public meeting for testimonials on Monday, August 12th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this monthly series of workshops. Every second Monday of the month, we have our public meeting for testimonials, and we bring forward some of the things that people are experiencing with using the plasma technology for various applications. And we usually have quite a variety, actually, of testimonials ranging from small things that someone might have noticed in their life to rather large transmutational type of experiences. So we look forward to what develops here today. We have a couple of things lined up, and we'll see as we go and how things develop out here. So first, I'd like to mention about the new Keshe Foundation YouTube channel. So let's have a look at that. We have a new YouTube channel called Keshe Space Plasma Technology. And it's just starting to get flushed out now. We have an introduction video that I'll play. And then there's some playlists. There's breakthroughs in science. And that so far has the 129 Tesla strongest magnetic field ever breakthrough video. And I'm sure that will have a number of new videos, as Mr. Keshe is promising to video some of the new technology as it unfolds. And next we have educational videos, and so far that has the free plasma key to the universe, which is the plasma animation video that we've seen quite a few times, and this is the extended version of that. And then there's a plasma for beginners playlist, and it's got a playlist called Easy Learning Plasma Science, Class 1, Class 2, and parts 3 to 12 are to be upcoming, and that looks interesting as well. So let's have a look at this first video here. And let's see, share. Okay, this is the introduction to the new Keshe Foundation YouTube channel. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download it so I can play it full.
I think that's the appropriate way. I tried playing that yesterday. It seemed to be a little bit mixed up if you try to share the screen and play it for some reason. I don't know why. It's only a minute and 38 seconds, so it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah, let me do
download
that. That'll be better if it'll let me download.
And of course, one of the reasons for this new channel, obviously, Mr. Keshe is opening up the knowledge to more and more people. We're not actually looking for big numbers or anything like that. It's more for the scientific community and others who are interested in the plasma technology to get a deeper understanding of what's actually going on with this new space technology. Again, it's for feeding, it's for energy production, wellness, and space travel. also agricultural. I guess that would come into the feeding, but as Mr. Keshe said, with the remote type of feeding, as you saw with the remote growing of teeth or changing the salinity in the kidney, it's a beautiful technology. It's going to be made available to everyone. So it's an opening up of the knowledge, really, to a broader base. And these are very simple understandings. I think it's going to lead into the showing of the actual creation of gravity and weight reduction and the rest. As Mr. Keshe said in the Iranian conference coming up in November, he's about to show some very, very advanced technology. And of course, we're not waiting for the governments to give us permission to do this. Mr. Keshe said it didn't matter whether the woman was in charge in the United States or former President Trump or Xi Jinping or any of the other leaders. The Keshe Foundation is moving ahead, opening this knowledge up, as Mr. Keshe has already been in the top levels of the governments demonstrating the technology. But it seems in a way that the scientific community wants to drag their feet on this. They don't understand it. They've confirmed it's working, but yet they feel it's a disruptive technology in so many ways. But I think this is one of the ways around it. This is the solution, this new channel for the scientific community and the knowledge seekers to understand more about what's being delivered here and to prepare humanity for what the change is going to be. Okay, Rick, hopefully you had enough time to prepare that.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, indeed. So yeah, let's go ahead and have a look at it.
Introduction to the new Keshe Foundation YouTube channel in 2024. New space era and energy for peace. Energy of plasma. When man discovered atomic and nuclear science, with it came the wars and the threat of annihilation of humans. In this channel, we open new horizons and bring forth not only new theories, but new systems and technologies which have been developed and marketed in the past decade. We go into the inner sanctums of neutrons, protons, and electrons, and we find only magnetic fields, their interactions, and what is created from these interactions. We find the origin of the essence of life, that everything is created from the interaction of fields. We are redefining energy and plasma state as a magnetic field in motion, the energy of peace, becoming a gift to humanity, the source of prosperity of mankind, and independence. The use of fuel and rocket technology has become obsolete. The new age of Keshe space plasma technology uses magnetic fields of matter, not the matter itself, and cosmic rays to create motion, food, water, medicine, and more.
There we go. Lovely video. So that's found right, right at the Keshe Space Plasma Technology channel. That is the first video that you'll see there.
And when we went through
was there another new video, Mark? Or?
Yeah, the second one, the introduction to plasma, free plasma, the key to the universe. I think this is one of the videos that you actually created, Rick, or parts of it are in there.
Oh, okay.
Again, showing the star formation, which Mr. Keshe said we'd be teaching more about. We haven't fully understood the star formation as I understand it, but yeah, let's have a go at it. And it's another short video. These are just
let me let me download it because ads might pop up and that can be rather distracting.
So again, this is just a way these little appetizers are being served on this channel to create interest, and as I said, for the knowledge seekers to understand more about this technology. Again, we're replicating the work in the universe as I understand it, and the interaction of fields. Again, was there resistance, Rick, when we went from the donkey to the wheel, or when we went from a certain type of burning, let's say wood, to steam, steam power, and then steam to oil and coal? And was there resistance all along the way?
Oh,
Or
absolutely, for sure. Like just changing from coal to oil was a big deal, and then the companies got sort of control of oil, and now we're trying to break out of oil into electric vehicles and things like that, but other sources of energy besides oil as well. So, and there's lots of new ideas that way, but most of them don't either see the light of day or just are not promoted or are not allowed to manifest because of the laws we have. We're not allowed to have more efficient things in our lives because of the existing bureaucracies and corporations and companies and countries that control things through the patent system and through the laws of business and whatnot. So it's
yes,
pretty tough to develop a all new source of power, especially if it had any kind of nuclear association. Then it's pretty much has to go through 10 to 20 years of regulation before it would even be close to something that could be used. We have some new batteries that are available apparently. They're like what do they call them, coin type batteries, little small batteries that are self-contained. They have a nuclear base, that is, they have a atomic process going on inside, but they're completely safe, and the metal cover of it protects people from the small amount of radiation in it. And you can add up these batteries similar to the Tesla cars, which all operate on laptop batteries, and you just add them up and provide any power that you want. The batteries never deplete. You don't have to recharge them. So, and they're good for, I think, 100 years or something like that, at least 20 or 30 years. So this is the kind of technology, and that's, based on plasma type technology. It's a plasma process. When you get radioactive processes going on and transmutation of elements, that's all part of it, and creation of fields and creation of energy. And if it's not the Keshe Foundation, it will be, well, hopefully it will be other companies and corporations that will be bringing this technology out. So it takes the pressure off the Keshe Foundation, because Mr. Keshe has lots more besides batteries and other products like that. He has the goods on the ultimate way which will go, which is the direct use of fields and the use of our own body as a field reactor apparatus. And that's something that many of the knowledge seekers have been exploring, and that's really the way of the future, not through technological products, but the products will come. It's inevitable, because plasma is the future. It's the only way that we can proceed as humanity and survive through our with the population that we have on the earth and so on, without killing ourselves in our own pollution, essentially, which is what we find ourselves in now. And plasma is the solution to the pollution, you might say. Hey, there's a good There's a good t-shirt. Plasma is the solution to the pollution.
It's not dilution anymore.
Plasma dilution is the solution to the pollution. How about that?
Very good. Well, we've seen, I always thought the scientific community was quite ready for changes, and they're always looking for a better way or to do something better. But as we saw,
that was always the dream. That was what we were told when I was young, and that was why I get into engineering and so on. I followed the dream. I thought, wow, it's cool to be able to make stuff and create things and all that. But I didn't realize almost everything at that time, back in the early 1970s, was based on, or mid 1970s, was based on the oil industry, and everything, all the products being created. Well, if you wanted to become an engineer, did you want to become an electrical engineer or a chemical engineer? If you became a chemical engineer, you'd work on oil and all the products that oil brings, and how can you make more products from that oil base that we have. And electrical, well, it's all still has to do with the oil industry, all the different apparatuses and cars and electrical systems and whatnot, and fuel systems, and all of that was again based on the oil industries. So when the fall came of the what they call it, the energy crisis of 1975, I think it was, when oil prices skyrocketed and everybody was freaking out about oil and that it was just not sustainable, and we couldn't keep going at that rate of paying these high prices. And all of a sudden, the engineering of vehicles took a dive. And in my second year of engineering, General Motors cut 1/3 of the student body of engineering school. 1/3 of the students, from not hiring new students and putting the pressure on those that were already there. And they cut 1/3 of the engineering students. And they cut more the following years because they sent all the engineering offshore away from the US to China, Japan, and other places, and let them do the engineering. And of course, they became 20 years ahead in quality control because of their continuing to do the engineering when the US and North America did not continue. So they fell behind, and quality fell behind, and their sales fell behind, and they had to smarten up and get it together to produce more quality. They're still having trouble with that. Many of the companies in North America have broken up and fallen apart, such as Dodge. And the Dodge Ram brand that was around forever is now broken up, and the Ram brand is now offloaded to other companies that are nothing to do with Dodge, and the Dodge name is no longer put on the Ram, and the Ram truck is going the way of the dodo bird, essentially. So they made some boo-boos, I think, with their decisions in those early times, and I was caught up in that. And after 2 years of engineering, I was pretty much had it, because the whole attitude of the companies like General Motors, where they didn't really care about their engineers, and they wanted to do away with them because they were a pain. Let others do the work, and we'll just take the profits. But of course, that didn't work out too well with their idea of designed obsolescence and taking the profits. People figured out, well, these cars are wearing out where the other ones aren't. Maybe I should go with the other ones. And so be it. That's kind of the
I was
way
just saying
happened.
that new technologies is when Galileo tried to point out that the Earth is not the center of the solar system. There was quite a lot of resistance. I wasn't there, but
Exactly.
it did take some time to rewrite the books and the science.
Well, I as a young engineer, pointed out to these GM supervisors on the assembly line, if you would just add a little more of this sealer around the wheel well when the cars are put together, then I think that this will stop the rust that happens around the wheel wells that I notice occurs in our cars after about 5 years of the salt on the roads. And this would stop that, and people would buy more of our cars. And supervisor looked at me like I was an alien and said, "Why, our cars are supposed to do that, boy. That's what keeps us in business. Everybody buys new cars after 5 years, and they rust out, and that's what keeps us in business." And I thought, geez, that's not much of a business if that's your bottom line, is to make people buy new cars because your cars rust deliberately. And that was my introduction to planned obsolescence, and also one of the main reasons that I wanted to leave the company. So I didn't believe in that attitude. They had quality is job number one and big signs up on the walls. And they had this whole quality program and so on. But behind that was quality is job number 10, not quality is job number 1. So anyway, yeah. So in any case, we have our new channel and a new sort of push for the technology. And we'll see what kind of resistance we have. Will they allow this channel to continue? Will YouTube allow it? And will we show things that will be revolutionary and or evolutionary? And how will that be accepted by the YouTubers and other people who are notoriously hard on new technology? If you have a new idea and you introduce it on YouTube, good luck. I've been there, done that many times, and you will get a flood of resistance. It's the same as eddy currents in electricity or eddy currents in a river that run counter to the direction of the river. And if you have a river that's a new product or a new idea and you flow that river out, you will get a counter flow to that river like you won't believe on YouTube. And people will be literally cursing you and telling you it's fake and phony and everything else, in spite of them having no education about it. And you'll have to either educate your audience or ban them, depending on the situation. And it's a big deal.
Rick, before you play the video, Elizabeth is asking Universal Council member if we could take a moment of silence or a minute of silence just to join with the Universal Council. And this is the time of day where they unite the souls and to bring the change and the dome of peace and the elevation of souls. Perhaps if you have that background and can put it up, I know it's on the spot, but could we take a moment of silence?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see if I can find that, but otherwise let's
perfect.
I'll just put in free plasma key to the universe. And yes, we should do that right now because we're a couple minutes late. So we'll take a minute now. And as Mark delineated, thank you, Elizabeth, for that suggestion. We'll take a minute now for the unification. I'll try to find that invitation as well. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone, for taking a minute out of your life to dedicate toward elevation of all souls and the protection of the physicality in the universe.
And as we saw in the video, the remote was applied to teeth, the kidneys, and the wall of the heart of the baby. Well, we just applied the remote as well, using our own reactors and sharing our emotions with the souls in need.
Yes, good point, Mark. We are the reactors we've been looking for.
Or as Lisbeth likes to say, we are.
Sorry, what? We are
the soul of peace. All of us.
okay. Well, let's have a look at our video here. The free plasma, key to the universe, the plasma storyline.
Free plasma, key to the universe. The principal fields. Create plasma. Plasma can become a self-sustaining star, or a proton or electron. Introduction of a second field. Field forces find their magnetic, gravitational positioning. Two fields with a gap creates free plasma between. Three plasmas form a free plasma at the common center. A fourth plasma allows the starship configuration with a free plasma core. An environment of tightly arranged plasmas appears as a solid structure. The nanomaterial process allows gaps in the structure for plasma flow. The gap inside the nanolayers creates free plasma in between.
Okay, well, there you have it. Free plasma, key to the universe. It's kind of a nice voice that they have, that they're using there. It's somebody we know, I think. I can't remember his name.
Yes, he was over voicing some of the Brazilian videos about a year or more ago, and then I hadn't heard from him, but I was glad to see he's back, unless he made these videos in the past.
No, I think they're made just for the channel, because Mr. Keshe wanted this video from me, the the free plasma one that I extended, and I see they incorporated into this.
So are they saying here, Rick, that the buying of petrol and oil and the rest of this could be the beginning of the start to the end of burning fuels? Is this one of our intentions?
Are they saying that in the channel, you mean, on the new channel, or in this video?
No. Yeah. In other words, is this one of our intentions to bring the plasma interaction, the interaction of fields, rather than the purchasing of petrol and oil products to burn, to create motion and energy and feeding and wellness, space travel,
Lift, yes. Hovering vehicles, for example. Yes, well, that has been the promise, and for, well, over a decade now with Mr. Keshe and his, he had the flying car ready to go. What was it, 14 years ago or something like that now, before he get busted by the government and wasn't able to carry on, basically. Not busted exactly, but
he didn't have his pilot's license, they said.
yeah, well,
Part of
they thought he was using nuclear products and wanted to shut him down and so on and so forth. So, which was part of the whole deal at that time. He was, using smoke detector parts in order to create a reactor that did have radioactive internals, but a very weak source, as smoke detectors aren't known for being a powerful source of radiation or anything in your home. They have a little thin shield around them to protect from the tiny wee beta source of radiation or whatever. But authorities don't like you to claim that you're going to alter the reality in a significant way by creating energy or by altering the transportation sector or creating food for people when the governments and corporations have it strictly controlled, and other such things. When you add them all up, it's really quite a Pandora's box of things from so many different sectors that you could see how the authorities might find that disruptive or threatening. And it's not just authorities, it's your average person would find it disruptive or threatening in many ways. They don't want big upheavals, and maybe their husband or wife or some other person in the family is working in the oil industry, making really good money, and that's what keeps their family going. And you talking about not having oil anymore is like, oh, wait a minute, boy. Where are you going with this? What do you mean no oil? That's like a no starter right off the bat. So how do you deal with that mentality, and how do you offer something that might be a better life? How do you explain to someone that when they create a new community up north to start a new oil drilling situation, and a new community springs up, and you've got they have to build houses, and it's a lot of money goes into it and so on. And one of the first structures they build is the cancer clinic. And you would think, well, I think, why is it that one of the first structures that goes in is the cancer clinic, along with, all the grocery stores with the fast foods and the fast food joints and the, one of the first companies that goes into any after the war situation, when they're rebuilding a new area, for example, or even starting a new town, in the case of the oil industries, is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola comes in and you find Coca-Cola as one of the first distributors to come in, along with the cancer clinic. So why is it that we have such goings on happening? And how can people see, how can they be convinced that there might be an alternative lifestyle to having oil-based industries running our lives and all the upheaval and commotion that occurs on the health side, the food side? It's got to realize, where do the pesticides come from? The oil industry. Where the herbicides come from? The oil industry. Where the fertilizers come from? The oil industry. Where are all the toxic elements in those industries coming from? The oil industry. Where are all the plastics in our water? Every cubic centimeter of water on this planet is now contaminated with microplastics, from the bottom of the oceans to the top of the mountains where the springs are. It's all got plastic in it. Where does that come from? The oil industry. So on and so forth. And how do we break away from that when so many jobs are associated with the oil industry and so many people are promoting it and involved with it? The banks and all the big projects are sponsored by the central banks, and it's up to them to decide to sponsor these projects. Of course, there's a lot of pressure now about that, and it's become more publicized, and there's a lot of pressure on those companies to improve their image, at least, if not actually improve their actual manifestation of what they're doing. So they have to make it at least look good, if not change their policies. At least that's some progress. But how do we, as knowledge seekers and as the Keshe Foundation, convince people that there is alternatives and that they are good and that they are ultimately so much more beneficial on so many levels, including the financial level, the health level, the innovation and quality of life for our future and for our children, and all of that is so much more beneficial. We can see that as knowledge seekers. Mr. Keshe has made it clear to us, and we've made it clear to ourselves through proving the technology ourselves and believing in it, and not just believing, but understanding it, understanding the science behind it, and knowing that that is the way through, by combining with our current technologies and improving our current technologies through the plasma science. We can become better humans and become less reliant on killing entities for our food and killing ourselves due to our pollution and killing others due to our wars and all the killing of processes and killing of entities that we do as humans. We know it's time to end that process and those processes. But yet we carry on, and due to the momentum of our organic existence, basically, and we've done it for thousands of years, we figure it's okay to carry on. But we have evolved, we are becoming conscious entities, conscious of our place in the world, and conscious that and aware that we can do better, we can do much better, and we don't need to continue the abuse. And to continue abuse when you know better is really a higher form of abuse. That's even worse. For people that are ignorant and don't know better, that's one thing. But when we know better and still carry on doing it, then that's not acceptable. That's we know it's time for a change then. Well, I didn't mean to rant on so long, but here we go. You got to fill in time here somehow. Let's carry on. Okay, what's next, Mark?
What? I did last time we were here, I spoke about a shrub in my yard, or a small tree, bush, flowering bush. And then I just put a ring on it and some Cup of Life one in the ground in a container.
What do you
And this
mean you
time,
put a ring on it? You have to explain
well,
to our new audience
just a
what you
plastic
mean by
ring.
you
I
put
think you can
your
kind
gold
of,
wedding ring on it, and
yeah,
that
no,
made
just
some
you
magic.
can see the tube right here, the, let's say what you just saw in the star formation. I didn't really make a star formation, but I made two containers. This one has the CH3 in it, and that's in a way up on the branch of the tree. What had happened here, I believe, was that I used some maybe a little too harsh detergent and cleaning. This is about 3 feet from the house, and the house had some mold on it, so I used a product, and it probably a couple of years ago, it set off the balance. So I probably created the condition where this, again, I don't know for sure, but it seemed to coincide with that. And the tree seemed to start to lose its leaves, even though I thought I had flushed the area quite well and the rest of it. So I decided to put a ring here on the tree with some CH, very simple. Again, I don't know the exact way to do things, but put a ring here of CH3, and then a Cup of Life one on the ground about halfway in the soil. I think another picture you can see that. And I've also given using my own soul as a reactor in this process. The top of the tree, in one of the other pictures, you can see it more clearly, has lost a lot of its leaves and its growth. Now, maybe this is just a natural cycle of the tree. Maybe the soul is ready to leave. I don't really know, but you can see the tree used to be a beautiful blooming tree, and all of a sudden it started to develop some of these problems of losing its leaves, or I guess if it had a full head of hair, now it's balding in a way. So last year, I think it was last year, I decided to put those reactors or that reactor system in, including using my own reactor, which we're learning more and more about. And of course, that's what all these teachings have been about, the transfer of energies, which were huge field generators. So you can see the new growth, and the lighter green has some new growth on it. They're actually trying to flower right now, which is totally out of season. The tree did flower about maybe 6 weeks ago or something like that. They usually don't last that long, but the tree did flower, and now I'm seeing a new growth in a way on branches that were just sticks before. So I don't know if the tree is just going through some sort of natural cycle, but I said this is a soul in need. And of course, it helps the beautification of the property as well. But, and I didn't really want to cut it down, and it wasn't fully gone either. And we had seen this demonstrated in the Brazilian testimonials that they've shared. So that's where I said, let me just do something simple like this, offer some energy to the plant and see if it'll recover. And it seems to be, in a way, taking that energy and helping to sustain itself. No fertilizers were used, maybe some plasma water a couple times around the roots. I think one of the pictures you can see the container in the ground, and you can see we saw the ring. It's just hung on a branch, not even affixed to it. Yeah, there you see that little small jar right there has some of the Cup of Life 1 in it. And it's interacting and creating some fields and some energies that the tree, and including my own reactor, it seems to be picking it up in a way. We'll see what the results are, but it's looking promising. Again, there's different ways to do this. You can put rings around the trunk, and you can have other certain, as we saw with the vineyard in France, where they had all sorts of different combinations of ganses and things. I think Joel worked with Mr. Keshe on that project for the wine in France, and they had good results. But this is very simple. And again, a lot of it has to do with your intentions. As part of this space technology, in a way, you're part of the reactors in this whole process as well. Oftentimes we believe more in the GANs or this gas as a nano-solid structure than we do in our own structures or in our own souls. And we know the type of energy we have within our structure. So I just thought I'd apply it, and it's looking rather promising, rather than cutting it down or, allowing it to die a slow death over whatever time it needed. I thought we'd help, and just to see. But again, it's not up to me, it's up to the soul to take it. We're just providing the energies for it. And if this tree, I don't know how old it is, it might be 40 years old, I don't know, or less or more. I thought, that I wouldn't, in a way, dictate to it, but I just make the energies available that if it wanted to continue on, it could. And the next time, if I do wash the house, we'll use something like simple green or something all natural in a way. Sometimes this is a shaded area, so the wall will get some mold growing on it. I think the other picture could show that. I think there's a couple more pictures. Okay, that's one of them. And let's see the ones with I think we saw 3 out of 4. Yeah, that's the one. That branch, as you can see on the top, it was just a stick. I had cut off some of the dry, yeah, right from the top. I cut it off. And then you can see all these small things are growing out of what looked to me like a dead branch. I didn't want to cut it all off, but this year it's certainly, maybe that's the way this plant grows. Because if you go to the final picture, Rick, you can see I think the one with the pole. Yeah, you can see the top of the tree is rather fading. But maybe the new growth is starting from the bottom and working its way up. I'm not sure. I don't even know the name of the bush. But I just thought we'd help it along the way and give it some support. And again, I've applied plasma technology, just the interaction of the fields, no fertilizer, nothing else was used, just fields, and my fields included, as I said, because you're a key component to this process as well, as I'm understanding it now. Before, I wasn't looking at myself as one of the reactors in the situation I was trying to help. But now more and more I'm realizing that you're a fundamental part, or you're one of the reactors in this whole process. And I think perhaps that's what Mr. Keshe was saying as well in teaching us this, that there's a reactor here that you don't see, which is the soul of the scientist or the soul of the man interacting with it. So we'll see what happens, but it's looking positive, and we'll see next year. It did have a fine bloom, but again, it was kind of patchy. if you want to say it that way. And it does look like some of these branches have developed some sort of mold or some sort of growth on them, but even the other ones where the new growth is happening, they had that sort of rust on them. I don't know, is that what you'd call it in tree work, Rick? Some sort of rust or something that doesn't look natural on its bark?
Yeah, sometimes called rust, I guess, or fungus.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're bringing it back slowly, step by step. I mean, it's doing it on its own, basically. I'm not really doing much other than offering some energies to it. But I leave it up to the tree itself, whether it's time to go or it's time to continue on. We just made the energies available. That's what we do when we unite at the 9 p.m. Central European time. We're just uniting our energies, offering it to the world leaders' souls and the religious leaders' souls and the others, that they can, the soul will decide to take it, pick it up, and change the dimension within the dimension of physicality. So that was my short testimonial. Another testimonial for me would be the feeding. It seems I'm getting less attached to food, or breaking that strong emotional contact with food that we all have. And I noticed the week before last week, anyway, 2 days in a row, I went the full day without really realizing I hadn't eaten. And I had been making wishes in that way as well. It's not so much about the eating and the rest, it's the walk away from the killing, which I never understood in the past, but I think I'm understanding it more and more. That the vertical people, the horizontal people, are also people. We call them plants and animals, but they have a soul, they have emotions. And what Mr. Keshe is teaching is that we don't have to eat our energy, we can absorb our energies. And this is an example with this simple tree right here, or the simple bush, that it seems to be absorbing energies from what's been given to it, and starting again to show its beauty. But I think
which affects your energies too, because you see the new life coming from the tree, and it, you know, elevates you to
yes.
Realize that's, you know, part of the way the universe works, and you can see it happening right in front of you, and perhaps you even had part of a part in that process, you could say. So
definitely. Okay, that was basically and anyone can try it if you have a drooping tree. I know a lot of these big box stores, you know, they allow you to take the tree back even if it dies or whatever. But if you have one in your yard that seems to be drooping or not happy in its location, losing its leaves or not looking the way it should, you can try this simple, very simple things. You can put a ring around the trunk of the cup of life one, and you can create a star formation. You can do whatever you like, however your soul leads you to, in a way, support another soul. And that's how we're viewing this. I've never viewed it that way at all. In the past, I always thought the animals and plants, in a way, were a servant to us or subservient to us. But now I'm seeing that we're really more on an equal playing ground, even though we still think it's our right to kill and destroy them. But this will change, and it is changing. And of course, as Mr. Keshe said, this technology applies to agriculture. I know they've run experiments where they've gotten 3 and 4 times and documented in China the harvest. But now with the new remote feeding technology, he's saying, I don't think the increase in agriculture is warranted in a way, because we have where we can feed remotely off the fields. And I've tried that as well. And I think this is, again, a slow process that's happening with me. But the first time in December of 22 or January of 23, we had a couple of meetings dining with the creator. And since then, the killing and the eating has become more, I'm aware of it more and more. And of course, most of the problems we have are the things we put in our mouth and we digest and the rest of this. So if we can feed off pure fields that haven't created a soul yet. This is the way the creator absorbs energies, and we're made in the image of the creator. So we can do the same. It'll probably increase health, increase life, uh, the length of the life, and probably the emotional balance within the life as well. So that was just what I've been experiencing. Again, the feeding happened, and I think I went for about 36 hours, and it was almost like if food, what Mr. Keshe said, in the future we're going to take killing out of the soul of the man or out of the structure of the man. It was almost like for that short period of time there was no emotion for food in my life. I was full of energy, and as Mr. Keshe said, it wears off after time. You'd have to go back into the system for an hour, and this is where the applications or the apps will come in the future, where if you're hungry, you can just dial into a certain channel and sit there for maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, whatever you need. When you feel satisfied, you can leave. If you get hungry later, you come back in for very, very minimal charge. And perhaps this will lead into some restaurants without food, where you just go in basically socializing, reactors are set up, energies are absorbed, and when you feel satisfied, you leave. Again, for a very small fee. And if you're hungry again in an hour or two, you can come back in. We'll give you a day pass.
Yeah. We said an interesting comment there when you said that we can utilize the fields which haven't created a soul yet. So the fields direct from the fields, cut out the middleman, as Mr. Keshe has said many times.
Mm-hmm.
The fields which haven't created a soul yet.
Yes.
I hadn't quite looked at it that way before, and I thought that was a very nice way to look at it.
Mm. Yeah, the creator doesn't kill any of its creation to sustain itself, so we can do the same. We just haven't seen it that way. And as Mr. Keshe gave that example, you know, a guy goes in and he robs the bank and they catch him and he goes to jail, but we go into the butcher shop next to the bank and buy a side of beef, and there's no problem at all. You've actually done a great job, especially for the butcher. And we take that. So yeah, that's acceptable. But I think over time, we will eat for the pleasure of it. But I think in the future, it's going to be more frowned upon. It's almost like, you know, smoking a cigar in an elevator or something. Nobody's going to tolerate it.
Yes, right. You won't be able to eat in an elevator to start with.
Yeah.
And if you're sneaking a candy bar in the elevator, that's not okay.
Right.
People will look down on you, you know.
But it's just a new understanding. When I was around the Keshe Foundation in the beginning, when I heard you could feed yourself without eating, I said, there is no way that this could even be possible. I cannot figure out a way that this could possibly happen. Of course, I didn't understand the interaction of fields and energies and the transfer of energies and the rest of this. And I'm not there yet, but step by step, I'm coming to a deeper realization and able to control my emotional connection to the food better. Because in a way, I'm looking at the food as actually an entity. Yeah, more than I did before, as a, you know, a pea was just a pea. It had no meaning other than it was round and it was green and it was supposed to be eaten. Now I'm seeing it much different than I have in the past. So again, it's just a little bit of enlightenment, understanding some more universal knowledge. And this is the knowledge of the creator. As I said, he doesn't kill any of his creation to continue his existence or its existence.
Yeah, I'm undergoing a similar thing in the moment here now, where there's quite a few ants happening, and I have an occasional ant will come onto my desktop here and start, you know, crawling across the desktop, little ants. and it can be quite annoying. And you know, there are times I could be less tolerant, but definitely I I watch these ants. Like I carefully remove them. I take a tissue and I just pick them up and put them out the window, and they continue their life outside. But when I see them now, I watched this one ant just a couple of minutes ago, and he was kind of sitting up on his back legs a bit, and he was starting to do his hygiene kind of thing with,
Oh, yeah.
rubbing his head, like he was sort of brushing his hair, kind of. That was what it looked like to me as a human. And of course, they're brushing their legs and hairs and whatnot, and he was oblivious to me, and the thumb of death could come down on him at any moment, from any human, and he was just preening himself. And I realized in that ant world, in that moment, I saw the ant from the ant's point of view, and I realized that he was just doing the same thing that I do when I go into the bathroom and brush my hair in the morning or whatever. Kind of just make some movements, and that's part of your process. And that and other things that ants do, they spend a lot of time wandering, sort of, we think, aimlessly as humans, but of course they have a plan. They're out searching for food generally, or for other things they can drag back to their nest to be of use. And they have a whole life. They have a life in their world that is very much similar to our lives.
They're
They
part
have
of a whole structure.
community. Yeah, they have a community. They work together with others to get things done, and they're on a timeline where it's a busy day every day. You don't see ants often just sitting around preening. They're usually preening because they got some crap on themselves that they have to get rid of so they can carry on their journey to look for more food and so on. And so they that's what most humans are doing. They're working so they can make money to get their food, and then they're out looking for food at the grocery stores and other places, and dragging it home and to their nest and where we make use of the food and celebrate it and so on and so forth. But it's the same basic survival mechanism. It's not that much different. There's one right now. I'm going to take you outside, okay?
So
no, you can't hide under my mouse.
So it's the respect for life, I think, that I'm realizing more and more. And as we go out into the universe, we're going to meet all kinds of creatures that may look quite appetizing or something to us, but yet the killing, or they
might look bizarre and totally unappetizing. It might make us feel almost nauseous or something. We have to avoid those reactions as well, and try to allow for the existence of the things that we may or may not like.
I thought it was kind of comical when Mr. Keshe used the example of, like, one white young child, has a friend who's a black young child, and the white one says to the black one, "Can I lick you and see if you taste like chocolate?"
Yeah.
So again, there's none of that in space. There's nothing to feed upon other than the field. So we're learning about this field interaction here. And I think it's a beautiful journey we're going on. Of course, it's step by step, but the systems are there in the background, as has been demonstrated in Gaza, starting with feeding 80,000 people a day remotely. And then, of course, the apps channel, which will be coming into existence in the store in some time, unless they set it up a different way. But it'll be your choice of what you'd like to do. Yes. Here's our
Your
lantern,
little friend.
our little lantern beetle. Thanks for identifying that, Rick. They said it's going to be quite a plague of these beetles coming in, and they're quite destructive. And I guess they
Yes,
turned into a moth in the end, but
yeah.
he's pretty beautiful looking right here.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video yesterday about someone that had a handful of these that they picked up in the early morning when they're a little dozier, and she put them on the ground, stomped on them, squished them like severely on asphalt. And I was a little shocked, but that's apparently what you have to do to eliminate them so they don't totally infest your area. Pick them off in the morning and do them in. But this seems to be the old school approach. And in years past, I might not have reacted that much to that video, but it actually gave me a gut response of, oh, geez, I don't want to see that destruction of beings. There must be another way that we think, So,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and the other way would be with the plasma technology. Once again, it seems to work for such things. Like if we had someone like Gianni, for example, you think he would take all the bugs off and squish them with his feet? Probably not. He would find another way with using the fields of some GANs or some shape that he creates with the nanotechnology, and he might place that in the bushes or do something else to discourage those entities or encourage them to be somewhere else or whatever.
Yes, Gianni has shown some fantastic results in those fields with no pesticides, no fertilizers, and just beautiful growth. Beautiful. Farmers happy. Inputs have been reduced, and I believe the harvest has been increased as well.
He's literally working with the fields.
Yes.
He's
fields within the field.
You could say that Gianni is outstanding in his fields. Outstanding in the field. That's the way it goes. In both ways.
Well, thank you, Rick. I didn't know you were going to bring that video up.
Well, it's a kind of a classic now, Mark, in a way. As we see the little bug hobble off to his home in the dressing room, as you call it. I think it's his battle fort. Remember when we were kids, we'd make forts in the woods and so on. He's got his own chewed out leaf area, and he's probably got a little cocoon he's going to build there or something. I don't know what they do to become moss, if they just transform or they have to make a cocoon or something to do that.
And again, this is just another face of the creator. And this is what we'll have to get used to, that the creator shows himself in trillions and trillions of different faces across the universe.
And speaking of faces, if you look at some of these bugs and magnify their faces, they have incredible looking faces. Some of them look like skulls and some of them look like aliens. And, you could see if you were a bug and you were looking at your other bug friends, how you would be able to identify them according to their bug-eyed faces, and it would be a strange world compared to ours, but again, very similar. We look at faces of friends and people we don't know and try to evaluate whether they are a good person or a threat to us, and the basic survival mechanisms kick in, and once we realize they aren't a threat, then we try to get along with them in some way, and different interactions take place. Well, same in the bug world. All right, what else do we have for show and tell here today? Does anybody else have something they'd like to bring up as something they've experienced or something to show or tell for show and tell? Elizabeth mentions in the chat, it's a permanent dilemma within me and has made it difficult for me to advance in peasant training. Creating to kill is a dichotomy if we talk about peace and about balance.
Yes, and agriculture and feed the animals for growing, and after, okay, you now feed me. Yeah, it's not better. So
yeah, we feed you, and then we cut your head off.
Yeah,
in case of chickens, for example.
Yeah, it's
I've
very,
got
very difficult.
Yeah, I've got a friend who was brought up in a farm, and he was a really big guy. He's about probably 300 pounds, very strong, and he's built like a bull. And one of his things, his dream is to have cows and to be able to kill them for meat, but he doesn't want to kill them. He sends them out to be killed and made into steaks and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
it's the same.
But he's also changed. He's changed. He's also a chicken farmer, and he's the one who does the killing of the chickens. Well, in the last couple of years, he's stopped chicken farming. He says he doesn't want to kill chickens anymore. He just can't. He can't handle the killing. And before that, he was relied upon. People would bring him their chickens so that he could, kill them and properly do that process and so on. It's quite a process. You have the equipment and so on that goes along with that, and so you can dunk them in the hot water and boiling water and so on, so they can be defeathered and all that plucked. And
and the same when
he just doesn't want to do it anymore. He had to quit, so he got rid of his business. That was really a good going concern business, and he stopped doing that. And I don't know if it was partly because of my influence on him, because I can't be around that when the chicken killing's going on. I don't want to work on his equipment or be around that area. Basically, it's just too disturbing to me. And he knows that, and he's been around me a while and knows about the plasma technology and other things like that. And I don't know if that's an influence or just in general. I think people on the planet are becoming more aware of the lives of others and the way we interact with the animals and such forth.
I think you planted the seed there, Rick.
Pardon me?
I said, I think you've planted a seed. You've actually planted a seed and changed his dimension in a way. That's what this technology does. It opens up a new understanding and a new dimension for you that you never realized was there all the time, but we just never realized it or interacted with it because no one was here to share the knowledge of the fields and the creation process.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Yep.
is when I think when do you plant you oh my God, I collected will be collected the fruits, and of course take up with the food, but maybe you planted for the intention the bees use that for gathered information, energy give to the, for example, for the phony, and give the information the plant to plant to plant to plant. Maybe for that is better because it's a form that you change the environment. So, but you plant and you say, "Oh my God, I planted," but later the other people come and use it. So for your food, maybe in that moment take information with the plasma water. I don't know with the plasma. So, but they say all the time is a dilemma inside the us. So it's difficult. It's a processing time, but
We're learning.
yeah, but it's difficult.
Yeah,
Difficult.
well, that's part of the transmutation process and the transformation of humanity at this point. It is a difficult process to let go of our previous conditioning and training. It's always hard to let go.
I think, Lisbeth, when you experience the feeding systems, I just had a small touch of it in a way, but even your favorite thing won't even be appetizing to you, maybe once in a while, but we're going to see a beautiful transformation with this remote, applying the remote for feeding.
Yeah.
But then if
Yeah.
you tell people that you won't like your favorite food, they'll go, "Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean I won't like my favorite food? That means I won't be able to enjoy food, but that's my main thing in life. I love food, and it's all I talk about with my friends is food, and that's what I spend most of my life doing is preparing food and enjoying food and all of that." And most people would go into anxiety thinking about stopping that process or, somehow altering that process because it's so ingrained and they think it's so necessary to, kill the animals or to kill the vegetables, whichever way you look at it, in order for us to survive. It's part of our built into our DNA, into our survival structure for millennia. And so essential that it's difficult to think in other categories. And going without food for a day or more is definitely a way to test that. And it's can be very interesting and engaging process to be able to do that with knowledge that you're making a conscious choice to go without in order to sort of gain something else. You're gaining control over your emotions, for example, and you're gaining insights into other dimensions and other ways of attaining energy other than the killing of other entities.
I'm sure we're going to have a lot of testimonials once this feeding system, the remote, comes into play. And people, again, everyone will experience something different, but it's going to be a unique opening of understanding of the transfer of energy. It'd be like eating a big turkey meal where sometimes you don't even want to eat for another day or something. This is the way it was with the fields. I just felt full. I had detached from the emotion. I was elevated for that period of time, and it was almost like that connection had been removed, replaced with the emotion of completeness in a way in that area. So just to share that, but I'm sure we're going to hear more and more of this as time goes on because it works. I know it works. I've tasted it, if I could put it that way.
Tasted it, yes.
Hello.
Hi, Mehran. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also confirm what Mark says about decision of eating with Creator. I was like that for some time. Whenever I didn't want to eat, I was putting myself in the same situation, and all of a sudden the food didn't make sense to eat. It was like paper. And I was thinking it goes on and goes on. After a while, I did some other things, and it's that experience kind of fade away. But I got new things which completed that. And I don't know, it's because of the some medication I think I take or what, but I'm losing weight also. And actually the value of food has changed. Maybe it's because of the other things I take, but the food is not just the essential things in life. And also I did transmutation like last month, in July. And in some moments, all of a sudden, I see myself in some kind of a space, no end space, a beautiful light which doesn't bother the eyes, and such a well-being. Really, I don't know, because the guy said maybe the daughter of Mitra comes in one of the sessions. So, and it was just so profound and well-being and light, and that I told myself, it's such good living to live like God. It was exactly what I thought. I told myself. But it didn't take long after that. It was in 1 hour 53 after the session. So, but it created an overall cold judgment for me. Like I feel like I'm more calm, and I just know where we go after that. So what's the rush? What's the noises? And I didn't know where I have to put it, but now I say it now. And it was just, but this is a lasting experience because I really feel it. So when we have the feelings like that, other things loses their importance. So yeah, that was my experience last session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehran. I think that's one of the challenges as well with the spiritual process is once you've, what's the saying, once you've seen Paris, Paris, then it's hard to go back to the farm. So once you've seen the spiritual greatness, it's hard to go back to our ordinary physicality life and still enjoy it in the same way, because we realize where that enjoyment might come from. You know, if the enjoyment comes from the taste buds and it's strictly a physicality pleasure that we're going for, then we might find that the soul says, I've had enough of that. And the physicality goes, well, there's not much fun without the soul participating too. we will pass on the food for now. Or due to circumstances, you might find that you just don't have the appetite you used to. For example, a lot of people that went through COVID, myself included, I lost my appetite. And for periods of time now, I still go through the times when I go, oh, geez, I can't taste. I lost my my sense of taste and smell. And that's so tied in with our appetite that we need to have that taste and smell in order to function, basically. And if we lose that, either through COVID or because we are high up in the spiritual realms and we no longer associate so much, or we're no longer attached to those sensations of taste and smell, then it becomes difficult, because that's part of what keeps us going as a physicality. And if the physicality doesn't eat, we're used to thinking that it's going to deplete itself and it won't have energy and it won't be able to continue living, and so on and so forth. But that's not actually true. It turns out the less we eat, actually, the more energy we have and the longer we live. If we go by lab rats, that's what happens with the lab rats. When they stop feeding them, they live longer. They have more energy and they're healthier, which might say something about the food that they give the lab rats as well. But and that goes with humans too. Perhaps just eating less food is less toxic for us, so we live longer. In any case, it's interesting to combine the plasma technology with this idea of not needing those that raw food energy, that raw energy that's we don't actually get the energy from the food. We get the energy from the byproducts of when the food is digested and broken down in the body and then converted. So it actually takes time for that process. When if we bypass that process, go directly for the fields, then that's much more efficient. We don't have to spend all the energy in digesting the food, which is about 80% of the energy in the food is used in digesting the food. We only get probably 20% out of it that's contained in the food. And if you go without food, you start to realize that after 10 days of fasting, and when I was younger, I had more energy than any point in my life easily. I was out running and swimming and everything else. And I realized then that the energy that I have has little to do with what goes into my mouth. In fact, it's the opposite. The more goes into my mouth, the less energy I have to run around and do stuff. So it's a strange, conundrum there in a way.
I think with cultural ideas, it's all cultural.
Mm-hmm.
We should eat like that. We should dress like that. We should size like this. Like now, I feel myself less. I enjoy what it is. I care less about has to be like this, has to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
We are creating a prison for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We are not very satisfied with what they are, what they do, what they consume, how they tolerate everything. It has to be exactly like that. It has to be as they think. But when we have these experiences, we just get tolerance and just let go.
Mm-hmm.
More and more, I just let go and enjoy what it is, what I have, what myself, my body. I don't look for things which are not a standard of beauty or whatever the fashion is. I enjoy what it is, and I go to myself, see, do I like it? And I say, yeah, I like it. You know, like we have a lot of standards, cultural standards of happiness, of joy, and
Mm-hmm.
like somebody the other day says, I was watching a program of people who were overweight, and they had nothing really uh, purposeful in life. And they were saying the food is the only thing which gives me happiness. And then
Mm-hmm.
somebody was saying there is difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is more towards the people, when you do something for somebody and then you get happy. Joy is when you do something for yourself, and then this is pleasure. In fact, it's not happiness. So by eating, they have pleasure, but by having a goal and helping others and doing something purposeful, you have really happiness. That is the happiness. But eating, overeating, and over whatever is just pleasures, short-term pleasures. And the cultures just go for pleasure. But the true happiness is something else. It's things like honesty, like caring about people, love, and peacefulness, things like that. Creating peace. These are the real happiness, which stands. It's not the small pleasures, We drink, we say I'm happy. It's just pleasure. It's not happiness. Because it fades away. It goes away. But when we are peaceful and we help somebody or things like that, we are happy. It stays because it's towards others, towards a goal, towards a higher goal. It's culture of pleasure, and we call it culture of happiness. It goes nowhere, becomes destructive. There's no end for it.
Yes, and there's no end to corporations that are feeding that whole structure as well, to make sure you have the candy bars and the chips and all the foods and products available that you can become addicted to.
McDonald's. It's Yeah, but when we think in a spiritual way, these pleasures we don't want because we know it's not good for us. We don't need them. We don't even desire them anymore.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share? Marinus, you get a lot of noise from your microphone when there's another microphone open and yours open at the same time. If I close mine and you talk, then it's okay. But if I leave mine open, we get feedback through your microphone. It's probably because you have a speaker on in the background. Usually if it's, that'll tend to interfere. If you could turn the speaker down when you talk, then it's less interference. Or if we turn our microphones off when you're speaking, then we don't get the interference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to say at this point?
Like for experience of Mark about the tree, I have normally seen people who use CO2 plasma water, use zinc plasma water and CH3 on top, kind of creating a motion in triangle, the heaviest towards the top, so that the energy goes to the upper part of trees. I seldom see cup of life to use for the trees. And sometimes they make a ring around the bottom of when there is um, the bottom of the tree to feed the soul of the plants. Sometimes in a ring. I don't know, maybe because Cup of Life has some CuO, and CuO goes with the human muscle and not with the plants, as far as it.
That's probably true. With the CuO is not generally used. It's copper can be good for keeping bugs away and for fungus and that kind of thing on plants. The copper compounds are used for fruit trees, for example, to keep certain diseases from occurring. But generally, as Mark has found out, using raw coppers, copper as a, what was it, a hanger or part of a plant holder.
Yeah,
And
just trying to extend the plant, and I just took a bare copper wire, and the tip of the plant was very close to it, just to lower the hanger down a little bit. I just took about 8 inches of it, and certainly made a difference in the way the plant responded. It just basically moved away from that field.
Ran away from
rather
that.
ill. Yeah.
Yeah. And we find that if you want to kill a tree, you put a copper nail into it and that kind of thing. So copper is to be used sparingly, if at all, for working in the field, so to speak. Oh, let's play that video about the last transmutation session and the fingers changing shape. Is there anything you can say to set that up, Mark? Or
No, other than she had another experience in Sanya where she wore that and she gave a testimonial, I think, here a few months ago about how her jaw realigned. So those are
yes,
that happened to Anna Marie. One after the session in the flight system in Sanya, she said, I think she laid down. I don't know if it happened instantaneously or overnight. Her jaw, which had been confirmed by the dentist, I thought it was the teeth, Rick, but then I think you confirmed it was her jaw, TMJ, something like that, where somehow the jaw gets out of alignment. And she noticed that it went back into place. And now, in one of the more recent sessions, she noticed her fingers had straightened. And this was after I think Mr. Keshe was teaching about the fingers and the shape of the fingers and the rest of this. Of course, he said he was doing that to showing the fingerprint of the soul and the difference between the fingerprint of the physicality. But yeah, she had a very beautiful experience, apparently. I don't know if it's been completed or what, but she definitely noticed her fingers straightening, I think. And this is part of transmutation, which Rick will show probably after this, which people can come in. And again, it's about keeping the Keshe Foundation free, these sessions, and of course, learning about transmutation. And sometimes you receive a small gift.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So let me just make sure I've got that shared properly. Yes. Okay, here we go. It's about 4.5 minutes.
Any other question?
Yes, thank you. In the webinar chat in German, we have a question from Anne-Marie, who says, hello, Mr. Keshe. After the last transmutation session, my fingers changed shape. The fingers are much straighter now, no longer bent over. Thank you very much.
I hope you're not going through any pain. Changes, if it comes through the soul, it'll be painless. If it comes through physicality, you'll suffer. If you have no pain, it means the correction is done by the soul. As simple as that. You got to understand, I've explained this many, many times before. If you have an arm which has not moved for a month, and you want to move it, it will take a lot of physiotherapy, a lot of movement gradually to get to where it is, or where it was. But when you see we do things like with Naomi, lying in bed for a month without any movement, which you lie somewhere for a week, the nerves cut, and you can get a leg moved, arm moved. You understand? It's the soul which is moving it, not the physicality, not the neurosystem. And once you understand this difference, then you see the change comes without the pain, comes through the soul. The change comes through the physical dimension, always carries, because physicality has to handle the changes. When you're bent for 10 years, 90 degrees, if you stand today, you break your back, you damage your leg, you damage everything else. And second, it cannot be done. But people who use our technology do. And this is the amazing thing about it, because the change comes through the soul. The water is just illusion. And we've seen this many, many times. And I cannot get people and the scientists and the doctors to understand. You have somebody bent for, we see a lot with the old age people, especially women. After the age of 70, 80, many of them, due to accident or whatever, walk bent forward. Some of them up to 80, 90 degrees bent. And when we use the technology, within a week, they walk upright. It's impossible. That cannot be done in the world of science of today. Physiotherapy and everything else which goes with it, let alone some clear water bringing such a, because when you elevate the soul, when the desire of the soul is to reach physical dimension, you feel no pain because it's already looked after. Then you understand how and the way these things are done, and how working through the soul for changing the structure of man is much easier than actually putting man through a lot of other things. We've seen that many, many times. Any other question?
So again, Mr. Keshe keeps showing things that can't be done in the world of science, but yet it's being done with the space technology. So it's a very beautiful thing, and sooner or later the scientific community will come along. Just a matter of time.
So we could talk about the transmutation sessions, I suppose. We get up the our website here. So if we were to go to the KF store, cancel the sign-in thingy. And if we could scroll down just to the next line, find the 2024 transmutation test. 2-hour sessions with small groups organized by geographical positioning of participants. According to the number of participants, it can be done 1 Friday per month or extended to 2 Fridays per month. Participants will be informed by email of their time allocation. Please make sure to mention in the comment section of the order the time zone you'll be participating from. And this test this month of coming up on Friday the 16th of this week, August 16th that is, will be this month's transmutations test. And it's 600 euros per person for plus shipping and taxes, it says. So there's a VAT on top of that. So it's quite pricey. But the money goes toward the development of the technology as well, as Mr. Keshe has outlined. It's not there so much for us as it is for the technologists and scientists to do the research.
Mm-hmm. As you played that video, Rick, about keeping the Keshe Foundation free, this is for humanity. This is
explains
part
it quite
of
well.
that process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautifully. And of course, there are many organizations and entities from Bill Gates and others who've tried to, from the King of Belgium on, that tried to, in a way, take this technology and sort of want to keep it and release it in drips and drabs. But Mr. Keshe didn't go for that. I'm sure he could have sold out years ago. But this is the way we're keeping the foundation free, and for the doctors to learn and the team to also learn. Apparently, there's so much for them to learn as well. And as I said, you may wait a couple hours. I think things are, in a way, advancing as he keeps indicating they're bringing other systems in to make these changes somehow deeper, more profound, or happening. It's almost, I equate it to moving little switches within your structure back to the point of the inception where you were in basically perfect balance. So I think in a way this is happening step by step in some of these processes. And of course, it keeps the Keshe Foundation free for humanity. If he had to go out and look for these billions of dollars, there's so many strings attached. And then, you know, by the time they peer review it and don't accept it, do accept it, nothing will get done. It'll just be stuck in the mud. So by participating in these sessions, you're actually allowing the Keshe Foundation to operate independently in so many ways. And of course, you're receiving things along the way. And again, many of these energies are rather subtle. It's not like you see a big fireworks show. But as he said, if you had the glasses or the cosmic ray bundles in this upcoming session, this will be another layer of, in a way, reactors or plasmas being put into the process. And he said it's going to be a fantastic time. So we may see, we'll have to wait for the exact instructions and the rest, but there's certainly some, in other words, I think he's turning up the energy in so many ways. As he said, if I put you in the Ubiso system and I put enough energy in the Ubisos, you will meet your own soul. So I think this is part of what's happening in these sessions. But we don't get a lot of feedback from it, as we wouldn't understand probably the graphs and the charts as we've seen many of these things. And each person is experiencing different interactions. So, and each person probably needs different fields, and they may be testing different field interactions on different people or different personalities or what they are reading, because there's a two-way communication in these systems. It's not only you're receiving from the system, but you're feeding back what those energies are producing in the body. And sometimes, as he said, you participate in these sessions, it may take 20 or 30 days for the energies to settle into your structure, to work it in there. But I think we're, in a way, reteaching ourselves something that we used to be able to do, such as zero-time communication, such as traveling through the dimension of energy, perhaps bringing wellness to ourselves. So and feeding as well. So there's a lot of little things that are going on in the background. And I'm very happy to participate and to keep the Keshe Foundation free for humanity.
Well, that's a good point. And Mr. Keshe has always tried to remain independent of corporations and countries and individuals, anyone who is trying to influence the technology for their own gain, especially. He would ignore them or just not support that. I've seen him turn down donations because the people didn't have the right intention, or they wanted something from him, some sort of personal special attention or something they wanted to gain of the technology in exchange for a donation. And he would just ignore them in spite of it being a large donation, because I don't know, he wants to to keep everything in house and not be under the thumb and influence of others that could not necessarily destroy the technology, but it could color it in a way that he doesn't want it colored. It might bring, something from the military in that he doesn't want, or some other aspect that is too much control for that person or entity that's trying to gain that control. And Mr. Keshe is pretty good at retaining control of the situation. At the same time, he's kind of hands off in many ways too. So he is similar to the transmutation test sessions. When you go into it, we don't know quite what to expect. We aren't told a lot about what to expect. In fact, during the session, the instructions are very brief and not exactly fleshed out. Mr. Keshe will just say, okay, we're going to begin now, and make sure your headphones are in such and such configuration, and da. And it's very quick kind of communication, and bang, away we go. And he does that deliberately to not color our preconceptions and our idea of what we expect from it, and to rely on Mr. Keshe to tell us what to expect. Well, that's not going to happen. He'll say that this is the session. It's up to you to create your own session. It's up to you to do the work to find the meaning within it, and to make the changes that you wish to have happen in the session. And that can be a little disconcerting to those of us that in life rely on someone else to tell us what to do generally, or at least to get advice from others. We always are seeking advice and want to know as much about something before we engage into it, so that we, know all about, we read the books about skydiving and all the courses and information about skydiving before we go out skydiving. And instead, Mr. Keshe is more of the seat of the pants method. Is here's your parachute and here's where to pull. And I hope you have a lovely experience, and bye for now. You kind of off on your own a little bit, but that requires us to be more innovative and more aware and conscious of our own processes and of our own intentions and desires, and that which we are responsible for ourselves, and that we tend to put on to others, and tell others, do this for me, or give me some sort of experience that's pleasurable and nice, and make it all like a video movie, so I don't have to do much and just sit there and have it all played to me. But Mr. Keshe requires us to take the initiative and to be self-starting in many ways. And that's part of the beauty of it. It's how do you give to others until you look inside yourself and determine what giving means, and what do you have to give? How is that process done? And why is it important? So the transmutation tests, there's more to it than meets the eye, but definitely a worthwhile procedure. I found it.
Knowledge seekers are just testing this first, and the rest of humanity will follow shortly after. So we're just, in a way, the pioneers testing these systems and giving feedback in a way to the foundation, probably just through the fields. They can read what's happening. And again, we're becoming that last man standing to understand the beauty and grace of our own creation, which has never been really shared with us, has it, Rick? We were always the bad ones when I went to church. Rest of this, we're learning a new understanding.
Churches are especially bad that way for putting the blame on the people. The blame game. And make you pay for it. Pass the hat.
Yes, cash out your pocket and your soul.
Not content with just the pocket. They have to take the whole kit and caboodle. But that doesn't have to be so anymore. As Mr. Keshe says, it's time to cut out the middleman. And it's time for, it's the end of kingship and the end of the popes and priests and other such middlemen.
Any sort of intermediaries here or anywhere across the universe, we won't be looking for them.
All right, anybody else have anything they would like to say about transmutation sessions or anything else? Okay, I'd like to play an older video of Mr. Keshe, and talks about diabetes and high blood pressure and whatnot. It's kind of good for testimonials group, and I think it came out from the Romanian knowledge seekers. And if there's nothing else we have to discuss, we'll probably end with that video. But if you can think of something in the meantime, then that's great. Okay, I'll share that now.
But share the knowledge. Understand there is one thing, beauty with this thing, with what you call GANs, and that is follows the law of the universe. You cannot take more than what you need. A GANs, plasma, water, never can harm, because if you don't need it, you don't receive the energy from it. It's the structure of the body of the man. And this is the secret about it. So, you want me to tell you how, if you're diabetic, you want to help yourself? If you are suffering from high blood pressure, don't forget, we never ask anyone to donate to the foundation, but donate your time to teach it. You need to take 30 to 60 ml of CH3 in the morning and afternoon for a week. Then, after a week, you just go for a morning for a week or two. But at night, you take 30 ml of CO2, GANs plasma, and 30 to 60 ml of zinc oxide. That's all it takes. In 5 days, you walk away from diabetic. If I can go to prison for this, so be it, but at least it helps a lot of people. If you have a high blood pressure, follow the structure through CO2 and zinc oxide. Always zinc oxide at night before you sleep, because it relaxes the neural system, body finds the balance where it wants. You wake up 5 days later with a normal blood pressure. And it holds. It's not a medicine that you have to keep on taking it to stay. Once the body learns, after 2 or 3 months, you're back to normal. This is how cheap it is. with a few dollars, you stop cutting legs and arms for diabetic. How much money you spend in the hospitals for diabetic getting blind and everything else. It's the same with the energy production. Learn it, teach it, and don't worry, I'm going to lose money if I'm a doctor. There'll be more coming because they've seen you doing a miracle. They come more for more miracles. But learn how to use it. One of our biggest problem in Ghana was one of the top guy. And he caused a lot of problem when I went there. The first few weeks, I had enormous amount of problem. Around December, he came to me and said, Mr. Keshe, I have a problem. Can you help me? I said, what can I do? He said, my wife is blind, both eyes. She got blind because of operation about a year, 2 years ago. She doesn't see anything. And I've been told you do miracles. I said, I don't do miracle. I know the knowledge. I sat next to the woman. I looked at her. I got the information I wanted to get. I went back to the factory. I made the water and the patch I knew. We met her a couple of times. He came on Monday because he knew on Friday I'm leaving Ghana. He said, you have to come and see me and my wife. There is some big problem. I said, but not today. Tomorrow if you come, we go. Don't forget, he is nobody higher than him than the security of the whole Atomic Commission. He's the highest man in the whole lot. We went to his house again, seeing the wife. As we walked through the door, the wife sits at the end of the room. She said, I can see you, you're coming in. I see your shadow. I sat next to her, and she goes like this to me. I can see you, I can feel you. Thank you very much for giving me my eyes back. I see red, I see blue. She said, do you know the worst thing is? I woke up this morning, I could see him next to me, I can see his shadow. I said, was he beautiful? He says, I don't say that yet. And total cost to give a sight back is less than 50 cents. That's the beauty of it. She says, you know, I could never see my foot. Now I put here, I see the shadow of my foot. I just don't smell, I see it too. I can just about to see. So in the next few months, she'll get her sight back. Why should we charge millions of dollars for it now that the technology is complete? We do the same. People were going for the source for amputation, for diabetic, and they've been told to be ready for amputation. There are soldiers marching around Ghana Atomic Commission protecting us. This is the beauty of it. The guy is a senior officer protecting the boundaries, and he marches in and says, without you, I couldn't walk, you see? And it's all cost less than 50 cents. We have found a solution for typhoid, which is killing a lot of people in Africa. It cost nothing. It just took me 2 seconds. I knew what it is. The scientists explained to me what is the pattern of typhoid. I made a drink. The guy says, I've been to the doctors. There is no sign of it. It's gone. So I don't hide. I don't block. I share.
Okay, that's the end of that excerpt. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for your never-ending efforts. I borrowed that from Mylena's comment in her chat here. She says, I have to leave. Thank you very much for your never-ending efforts. A lot of joy and love to everybody. Good night. Thank you, Mylena.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Rick, all the time. You and many people at the back, all the time sharing the plasma technology and sharing the knowledge. Thank you so much for that. Because we are the soul of the peace constructor.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, is there anything else that anyone would like to say before we wrap up here today? Okay, well, thank you, Mark, for being a co-host once again here. And thank you, everybody, for attending our 93rd public meeting for testimonials here on Monday, August 12th, 2024. The next testimonials meeting will be in September. It's always the second Monday. It will be September 9th in that case. So again, same time at the 8 p.m. Central European Time on September 9th. So try to snag a testimonial sometime in the next month. I'm sure you'll run across something of the plasma technology that'll be unusual and interesting for others to hear about and share with them. So keep that in mind for our next testimonials meeting. And our next public teaching workshop will be tomorrow. That's August 13th, Tuesday, August 13th, with the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace, with members and support members of the Universal Council. And again, that'll be Tuesday, August 13th. That starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. So please take that into account. And after that is the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, which I hold every Wednesday starting at 7 a.m. Central European Summer Time. That usually goes for several hours of diverse topics for diverse people. If you wish to show some of your plasma technology, that's a good place to do so. All right. Well, thank you all once again. And we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit as per usual. And we'll see you all in the next public teaching workshop. Bye for now.